And I pronounce your last name Blackett, right?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, press record here. Okay, let me get my notes up here. All right, Laura, my trusty podcast editor, I know you're listening in, and I'm going to count you in 3, 2, 1. Today on the show, the pleasure of speaking with Jacob Blackett. Now, Jacob and his original business partner were back on this show way back in episode 93. I very highly recommend going and checking that out and giving it a listen to what they were doing then. And now we have him back on the show by himself. And for those people who don't know who Jacob is a real estate sponsor. He's a software entrepreneur who currently owns and manages over 1,100 multifamily units across a portfolio worth over $190 million. He currently focuses on multifamily and specializes in online syndications, which is what we're going to talk to him today about. But he's most passionate about creating profitable partnerships and ways to innovate through automation and technology and creating simple systems and structures in order to be more profitable for his investors and his portfolio. So really excited to have him on the show today by himself. He's no longer with his business partner. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but nothing major. But I'm really excited to have him on the show, and I'll get him out here in a minute. But enough out of me. Let's get him out here. G'day, Jacob. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today, mate?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Reed.
Mate, I just mentioned that we had you on the show back in episode number 93, which we're at 220 now or something. So that's over 2.5 years ago. And you were originally on with your former business partner, Sterling White. So maybe you want to give a quick rundown what's happened in the last 2.5 years for the listeners.
Yeah, well, a lot. 2.5 years is a long time, even though it might not seem so. A lot can happen. So really, when we had caught up last time, Reed, we were focusing on single family homes and building up a single family home portfolio. We had purchased, I believe, an apartment by that time, one apartment, but since then we've pivoted to 100% multifamily acquisitions. We continue selling our single family homes and hope to be divested from those by the end of the year. And as you mentioned, my partner back from the starting of Holdfolio, Mr. Sterling White, we went separate ways at the end of last year, and luckily remain on great terms. We had 5-year run together and it was amazing. But he's definitely a person to sail his own ship and chase, his own ambitions. And so we had a great run together.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, the evolution of partnerships. And they always come to not necessarily an end, but they evolve. And that's how people grow, right? And I think as confidence grows and as people listening to this show, as they start going out in the world of becoming an entrepreneur, particularly in the real estate space, you partner with people, but over time you grow. Like you have different aspirations, you have different drives, and that's okay, right? And it doesn't have to be, the partnership didn't work. It's not that the partnership didn't work. It's just that we just grew in different directions, and you still remain friends today. And I think that's really, really important for so many people out there. Is there any sort of lessons you could, or just a couple of top tips that you can give to the folks out there listening about making sure that you are okay with the evolution of partnerships?
Yeah, I think going into any partnership with the mindset that you just laid out, the fact that we are evolving humans, and so we may be 100% on the same page today, but that doesn't mean that as years and years progress that you're going to stay in sync. And so I think the most important thing and what I learned about my partnership with Sterling over the years is that the reason I was attracted to working with him in the first place is that he's a go-getter. He is out there. He's very extroverted. I'm more introverted. I'd rather kind of give me a spreadsheet. Let me analyze something and let me stay behind the scenes. Sterling was kind of the opposite. I'll do anything it takes. Very motivational. Just an excellent person to be and grow a business with. And so yeah, I think that one takeaway there is that we didn't step on each other's toes on many things. And and just being able to work with someone who's open-minded and flexible. I mean, it's a two-way street. And so yeah, we found a lot of success in that.
Yeah, and I want to just, I don't want to dwell too much on partnerships, but I know similar type of scenarios happen with me and my business partner. And I think as the evolution of becoming an entrepreneur, and I keep using that word evolution, I've got to stop, but as we evolve and grow as human beings, in the beginning, there's so many things to do, right? And you need that partner to come in who is the yin to your yang, who does have complementary skill sets. I know with my business partner and I, the reason we were attracted to one another was, one, because we could both hustle, but two, we had complementary skill sets. And exactly the same as what you've just described. You'd think that I'm the outrovert, and I am, but I actually do the numbers. I'm the operations guy behind our operations at Wild Horn Capital. And actually Andrew he's not in the details, and he's more of the, I always say to, he shakes the tree or the lemon tree, and I determine if we make lemonade or lemon juice. And so I say that because I wanted to mirror back the fact that I've been in that situation. A lot of people have been in that situation, and you need to, when you come into partnerships, you do it in order to distribute the workload, because it is easier to have two bums in seats than just one, right? And I think as you grow, you see your different strengths and weaknesses, and then you ultimately go off and pursue other things in the future, and that's okay. Yeah. And so many people are, I talk about mentors on this show as well a lot. And the same thing happens with mentors. You will use them, and partners, very similar to partners, you will use each other as mentors, as partners for a period of time, but you will grow, and that's okay that in 10 or 5 or 10 years time that you change. Because that is the evolution of business, and you have to be an entrepreneur, reacting to that change and sort of surfing the wave. And if you stay stagnant, you're going to get sucked out the back, and you won't ever grow. So kudos to you guys for realizing where you've come from and where you need to go to.
Yeah, it was good. And you also acquire partners. I have a partner today in Holdfolio, Vanessa. She's amazing. I'm very operational focused. And so one of my primary responsibilities was overseeing our property management. We take a very hands-on approach. So we manage most of the properties we own directly ourselves. We have a construction company. It's a lot of moving parts. And so there was a point in time there where we started working together with Vanessa as a more of just a hired on employee role, but realized the value and talent there, and just having A+ rock stars on your team is just invaluable. So I ended up making her partner in the company just to solidify that relationship, and it's just so important to the company's health.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And so tell me how you've pivoted over the last couple of years into what you do today.
Yeah, there's probably two biggest pivots. Number one, we stopped buying single family homes completely and started actually selling off that portfolio and focused on multifamily units. So we went from, over the last few years, 0 multifamily to, I think we had 1 duplex, to over 1,100 units today. And that's just been a breath of fresh air, as our goal has always been recurring income and cash flow, and having the scale and having all of the benefits of multifamily and financing. Just lenders want to write loans on these assets. So yeah, it's been great. So that's one big pivot, is asset class. The second pivot for me is starting another business, a new venture. Through Holdfolio is really born because back in 2012 and 2013, the very first crowdfunding sites were coming online for real estate investing. And this was because of the Jobs Act that was passed in 2012. And it was just catching my eye, seeing these crowdfunding sites raising capital online, and just people being able to jump into a website and place equity into a real estate deal. I thought that was fascinating. And so I had built that up through Holdfolio from day one, in terms of being able to raise money through the website and get commitments. And so that, through time, grew into a whole new business, a separate entity that I founded, and just having a blast running today.
And talk to me about that, because it sounds like you're doing a lot of stuff, a lot of moving pieces. You just mentioned you got your own property management in-house, you have your own construction, you have 1,100 units, which is nothing to sneeze at, but also you're doing it very early on. Like I know we're over 2,000 now, and we still haven't brought that in-house yet. And we're actually thinking more when it comes to 3,000 units, probably in 12 months' time, that we would start to bring it in-house just because you get the scale there. So, and then to add to that, on top of that, you got the technology side of it. So how do you manage all of those moving pieces and make sure that you are the master of one thing and not just a jack of all trades?
Yeah, it comes down to a big important piece to me is technology, right? So there's so many different tools and things we can use, but really honing in and seeing and finding things that work for you. For example, I use task management that's built into my inbox with G Suite. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things today, of course, revolve around the inbox, and just being able to manage that and have tasks and plan your days, right? And control your time. And also, for example, you could sit in your inbox all day. You could just sit there and just maintenance it and respond to things and find things to do. But and
that's what the majority of us do, right? Is just literally sit on our emails and just play gatekeeper to whatever comes through.
Yeah. I still catch myself doing it, but really being able to batch email, for example, like just leave it alone for an hour or two, come back to it, and then just focus on just getting those replies out, and then go away from it again, and focus on those projects and those high level tasks that are going to move you forward in life. So, and business. And so that's been very important to me. In the real estate business, it was important to be able to streamline our capital raising and our investor relationships. So we have 18 partnerships that we manage today. That's a lot of different deals, a lot of different investors. It's over 600 investments, and so you have a lot of things to do, from updates and taxes, and when you're raising capital in the first place, having a place to streamline that, and so yeah, that's my answer, and being able to delegate, right? Yes. It 100% comes down to the people that you're able to attract and work with in the business, and so it just wouldn't be possible without great partners and just A+ team that's working on it.
What's your philosophy on attracting the right type of partners and employees? Because that's such a big piece, and particularly as young companies where the revenue, you talk about recurring revenue, and it sounds like you're controlling as much of it as you can with 1,100 units, which I think is very, very key for those people listening out there, that instead of paying the 2.5% or 3% property management fee somewhere else, it's now coming direct to Jacob and his team. But at what stage did you think, okay, I've got enough runway here to bring on a couple of employees to help me scale? Because you talk about the delegation piece, that you can't be, when you got what sounds like 4 different revolving businesses, the property buying, the assets themselves, you got the property management, construction, and you got the technology piece. There has to become a point where you're like, okay, let's put our big boy pants on. And at what stage were you when you decided to double down and say, okay, I'm going to bring on some employees, I'm going to bring on some people because I know that I'm investing in the business for the long term?
Yeah. So my experience, I had the fortunate ability to work in a property management company when I was straight out of college. And so I had a lot of experience in the trenches. This property management company had 1,000 single family homes that they're managing. There was a lot going on, and for whatever reason, I don't even remember contemplating this thought. But when I started building my own buy and hold portfolio, I just did it myself. I knew all the moving pieces early on. I just did it myself. I'm young, hungry. I'm working from eyes awake to eyes shut, basically, and just loving it. And so So early on, I did everything, and with my partner Sterling, we delegated between the two of us. And then I think our first hire came when we had a portfolio of about 50 single family homes. We went ahead and hired a leasing / property manager in-house and kind of just scaled it up from there. Really, from a property management perspective, we didn't really cash flow or make money from property management. We still don't really. It certainly covers its expenses, but any profit is really negligible. For us. It's really just about control. We just had some experiences with third party management. You can do it 100%. You can find good third party management. I'm not going to say that's impossible, but it's not an easy task. And we just felt like no one was going to manage those properties like we were going to. And so,
yeah, sorry, I didn't interrupt.
Yeah, and also the type of asset class that we were purchasing early on, we were purchasing in working class areas you would consider C minus areas where you can definitely find good tenants, but you got to filter through a lot. It's not easy management, and so on some of our nicer properties, it's way easier to have a third party manager because it's not as much of a management task. But on those kind of lower end properties where you've got potentially higher crime or just you've got to really go through 20-30 applicants to get a good one, and you've got to be really stringent. And with the single family homes, having them all over town and trying to cut down on paying third party vendors and those up charges, just trying to keep an eye on margins. That's kind of what drove us to doing all of it ourselves. It's just kind of crazy thinking back on it, but yeah, it's what we did.
And what's the company look like today? Like, how many employees do you have across those 4 different business verticals, I'll call them? And where's it going? What do you want to grow it to?
Yeah. We have between 12 and 14 individuals actually hiring for our position now. But there's two key principals, myself and Vanessa. And then underneath that, we have most of it's related to property management. So we have anything, from those leasing agents and maintenance personnel, on-site personnel, so kind of a small knit team.
Yeah, but I think it's impressive that you brought that in-house and able to do that across 1,100 units. So I think it's awesome. So now when we pivot to the online syndication platform, so we spoke a little bit in the green room before we press record here that you'd experienced back in the day these online platforms that seemed to be very, and my experience as well, my view of the space back in 2012 to 2016 was that a ton of people coming to market with these online crowdfunding platforms that seem, at least in my layman's opinion, have gone away in recent years. I don't know if you agree with that. So how have you made yourself different in order to attract the more customers, to use your platform in order to try to be the best in the biz if you can?
Yeah, I think since we were so early to raise money online, we did get lumped into the category of crowdfunding site. Your typical crowdfunding site is more of a middleman. So they're getting their investor base, they're finding the sponsors and operators, and they're kind of acting in this middleman type approach. And so through the years, I think when people considered and registered for us and started learning about Holdfolio, they learned that there was no middleman. It's our deals, and so that was probably our biggest competitive advantage, and something that really resonated with people is that they didn't have to think about all these different operators and kind of vet, because any deal that you invest in, it's as important, maybe more important, probably more important, the operator, the people behind the deal. The deal metrics make sense. You got to vet that the deal makes sense, that it resonates, but it's really the people that are going to make or break that. And so I think that's what early on people liked about what we were doing from an investor perspective. And as I mentioned, we had built out our own site to raise capital and streamline these processes in-house, actually with the web development company. I spent so much time and money doing this. It's crazy. And it was actually in early 2018 that I started learning about investor portals and software that was available for this. And when I first kind of saw those options, I was thinking, it's time that I check this out. Maybe it's time to get off the home baked site. There's something better here. So I took some demos, and it was interesting actually. After the demo, I felt like what I had was shown and what I saw was really kind of bulky, complicated. Like I was on the call for an hour and I still felt like there were things I was looking at that didn't make sense. And it felt like a lot, and the price tag was pretty crazy too. Right. So that's where I kind of scratched my head, and I looked at what we had built already, and I was thinking, I like this. I like what we have here. And so it was around the same time that I kept having colleagues ask me, hey, how do we build what you've built, basically? How do we raise money online without paying this huge price tag to this investor portal? And so I pitched the owner of the web development company, Meta, and said, hey, I've got colleagues and friends who are looking for this solution. I've just demoed kind of the industry leaders, and I think that what we built already has some really unique advantages, and I think that we could polish this up and have a pretty interesting pretty interesting business model. So we polished up the corners. We launched a beta version, onboarded friends and colleagues, and kept things quiet, and it went really well. And I think the thing that we continue to focus on is ease of use, simplicity, self-service. So it's really, I think, what the feedback that we continue to get from new clients is that they sign up, they start using it, it's intuitive, they feel empowered by the software, right? I mean, that's the best thing you can do, is deliver a product that people can easily use, and so I think that's our biggest competitive advantage in the marketplace, and it's been going really well. It's I have a knack for technology and systems and automation, and it's just really fun and rewarding.
That's awesome. I think that's well, kudos to you, mate, for taking the plunge, because it is we use an online platform right now, and it's been a bit clunky and growing pains and all that sort of stuff. So I know where you come from when when you're trying to get that user interface to be really seamless, because trust me, there ain't no time like testing out a user interface when you've got a live deal and things are going wrong.
Yeah.
And links don't work.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing is, since I had been personally raising monies online for 7 years now, and over 18 deals and 600 investments, I've heard from the investor, right, when something didn't make sense or they didn't know what the next step was, and so over this entire period, that's what the platform reflects. It provides an experience where investors aren't calling you, they're not asking questions, they're not confused. Oh, we're supposed to fund now, or we're not supposed to fund, or I can't find the investment, or having trouble gaining access. Like those are all things that you want to avoid. You want just a nice seamless experience for the investor and the sponsor.
And I think at the end of the day, people are so expectant of that right now. Like I know, making sure it might work on a laptop, but it might not work on your phone yet. The mobile phone app hasn't been developed. So where people are trying to sign these things on the fly. So it's been I've been at the coalface as well, working with the group that we use, making sure that every single deal is getting better and better and better and easier and easier and easier for our investors, because you don't want clunky technology as your forefront, or forefacing, I should say, image of your business, and it's clunky, they're gonna like, oh God, imagine if this is clunky, imagine what the deal's gonna be like. You know what I mean? So it's already that subconsciousness of making sure everything is seamless from the beginning, so you can have that image of that you're professional and you're up to date. And that takes work, right? It doesn't just snap at our fingers. And I've learned very quickly through coding that I'm not a coder, but when you ask for something to be done, you're like, yeah, can you just fix that like now? Like, hurry up. Like, it doesn't just happen overnight. And
right.
that's been a definite learning curve for me as a sponsor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention, I think one thing that I'm proud of is that we have remained so agile in our development process, and our team just continues to surprise me with how quick we're able to do something. Like, we're working on so much at any given point in time. Our team is like just, kind of stressed out and crazy. But when there is a little something that wasn't working as expected, and it just is fixed, within an hour, I just love that experience for our clients as well.
Right.
Just customer service first.
And so with the online raising portion of it, are you going through any regulations with the SEC? Like, how are you making sure you're compliant on that side?
Yeah, we provide the tools to help guide you depending on how you're raising capital. So, of course, the two most popular 506C and 506B Reg D exemptions, and so the software is very helpful depending on how you're raising your money to help guide you. We don't necessarily tell you like, hey, these are what you can't do, this is what you can do. But we provide the automations and the tools. We know how it's supposed to go. The platform was built with securities attorneys, and so it's all there. But we're not going to proclaim that, hey, raise money on the software and you'll be compliant. Because
right.
There's a lot of intricacies.
There are. No, but I guess from a business point of view, how's that gone for you, making sure you are as quote unquote compliant from providing the tools to capital raisers or to sponsors in order to be that you're not stepping on over the lines with the SEC and all that sort of stuff? I'm sure that in itself would have just been complex.
Yeah, quite honestly, the biggest consideration and something that is the most important thing on our perspective is security. Mm-hmm. Making sure that investors and sponsors are signing in a fashion that is secure through two-factor authentication, making sure that it's end-to-end encryption. There's a lot of personal information, important information, and so we take the same steps as banks do to ensure security. And so that was really a starting point for the platform. And then from a compliance perspective, like I mentioned, I've personally done 18 syndications, and we have now a few $1 billion being managed on the platform. And so, yeah, there's definitely the tools there to make sure that you're verifying accreditation if you need to, or investors are accrediting, or you're verifying that you have relationships and you have track record of the relationship, right? Like the audit of every single step, so that if you were ever in that position that you had to say, yeah, we had a relationship, it would be easy to do that, easy to prove that case.
How do you think with COVID and the future of this sort of online crowdfunding is going to evolve to? Do you think this is now the new norm? Because I know years ago when I started doing real estate syndications, we didn't have portals. So it's a relatively new technology. And do you think it's going to be around for the long term?
Yeah, it's new. You're right. And it's what we've seen is rapid adoption. Anyone who has raised $1 offline and raises that money online, it's a shift. It's a paradigm shift in terms of just realizing the power, the time savings, the customer service. So it's 100% here to stay. And yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere. Just there's a lot of growth though. There's a lot of adoption still to be had.
Right. It's like the crowdfunding all the crowdfunding sites have seemed to be pivoting to portals now, right? And so does your portal have any of the SEO stuff built into it to attract investors, because you spoke about white labeling before, which is really what you were talking about. I know some of the big companies out there do it. I think it's CrowdStreet, one of sells a white label product. Do you integrate with the sponsor's website, or do you have a sort of standalone website that everyone's got to come to and sign up? And then the second question is, do you have a system on the back end to help the sponsors with the SEO part, drive more traffic to their website in order to see the past deals or whatever it might be, if they're raising through 506 C for Charlie, which you can advertise on?
Yeah, it's a good question. Number one, you want to provide a very natural experience from a brand perspective. So we give our users the ability to, of course, upload their logo and have that feel, so that when someone's coming from your site and your brand and now they're logging in, it's really seamless. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm using this different, what's going on here. It's really a seamless solution, and we continue to develop more kind of more tools and ways to go about making that even more seamless. So that's definitely one thing we focus on, is just trying to make it feel as much as part of your brand and your company and your website as possible. And then when it comes to SEO and which is really coming into the marketing side, we make the tool and the CRM built in so that it can integrate with many other tools, so that it's marketing friendly. And we continue to build that out with that in mind, knowing what it's like to attract investors and get your brand out. We're taking that one step at a time in terms of making that more and more friendly, and getting more of those optimizations. But we don't provide any marketing services ourselves.
Got it. Is there any future where that would be a tool in your belt?
Yeah, I think certainly we've been working with some marketing providers who work with people to attract and acquire investors, and so there'll probably be something in the line of a strategic relationship with a firm that we believe in and has really good track record, and is familiar with SyndicationPro and the tools and where it fits in the funnel.
Right.
But yeah, we probably won't get into that ourselves.
Right. No, I think it's an interesting business angle, right? It's combining the two, where you really you talk about raising money online. Well, let's talk about raising money online. Like, you've got your existing investors now onto a platform, which is great, but how do you get more people into the funnel? And you do podcasting and books and branding and all that sort of stuff, but also having that SEO piece of it, where it's sort of a 1-2 punch with the portal and the SEO. I think it seems like a natural progression for most online portals, that your clients, at least I know I want to do it with mine, that's where the feedback, and I've heard from other operators, that's where they want to keep that funnel, the tap turned on. They might not get all the leads that come to the website, but having some sort of funnel where they can sign up for an email list, they can sign up to see some few videos, they can get the email campaign going, the drip feed going, and they can have a phone conversation, which also then goes back to helping with the getting to know one another. And then they can look at like past deals. Like, there's all these different ways in which you could use the online marketing tools. And it's a natural fit, that the yin and the yang, going back to that yin and yang scenario, where you'd bring that SEO part and marketing part into the portal part as well, not being at least complementary of one another.
Yeah, we do provide those mechanisms for people to sign up and opt in, and kind of that really top of the funnel on the first relationship,
right?
And then automate things like scheduling that introduction call, right? So if you're meeting someone out of the blue, most naturally you're probably looking to get in touch with them, and so we automate things like that as well within our CRM.
Got it. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, mate, at the end of every show, we like to dive into the top 5 investing tips. You ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Mate, what is a daily habit you practice to keep on track towards your goals?
I have a hot sheet, and it's a notepad. It's actually in Google Keep, and it lists out my highest value activities, what I'm grateful for, and some value propositions. And so that's something that I try to check into every day to kind of get centered and on the right page for the day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think having the importance of having the one thing, in the day that you have to get achieved, and not having 20, right? Because sometimes those 20 little activities don't actually ever get fully resolved, and then they just keep dragging on to day 2 and day 3 and day 4, and then none of them get actually done by the end of the week. So being really methodical about understanding what is that one task that you need to get done every day, or a couple of tasks, and get it done for the day, and then move on to task, Tuesday, and get another 2 tasks done. So I think people sometimes forget that. And I'm sure with your business, mate, with all the ecosystem that you've created, there'd be a lot of moving pieces that you'd have to be very, very disciplined on. So awesome stuff. Question number 2 is, who is the most influential person in your career to date?
Wow, great question. The first person that might come to mind would be probably Tim Ferriss. His kind of philosophies, and I caught on to them maybe close to 4 years ago. I think that was a big shift for me personally in terms of thinking about how to control your time, how to empower partners and employees. I think that has been very, very influential.
Yeah. And for those people who missed, there's a bit of a glitch in the internet there. It was Tim Ferriss, right? But the 4-Hour Work Week. Yep. Another book I can recommend to you if you're interested is Key Person of Influence, written by an Australian author, but 24 assets. He writes about the different assets in the business, everything from branding all the way through to the documentation. Would be something probably just to take a look at, very aligned with taking that sort of more practical step from Tim. And Dan Priestley is the author. He sort of takes that automation systems into what are the actual assets you're building, and he comes up with 24 of them. The magic number is 24, and through different elements of the business, everything through marketing all the way through to standard operating procedures. So just something to check out there. Question number 3 is, what is the most influential tool in your business that you use on a daily basis? And when I say tool, it could be a physical tool like a notepad or a computer, or it could be a software that you use. So what's the number 1 tool?
I can't imagine running Holdfolio without the software. In it every day, it's such a foundation to that business model. So that's probably what I use the most. And also, without task management, I think that my head would literally explode. So I use Google Tasks. It's integrated right with the inbox, has the app on the phone, but it just lets you get the task off, clears your mind, lets you schedule your days, pick the things that you're going to get through. And I just don't see how I could push through productively without that.
Right. No, I think that's incredible. And it's such being organized sounds like the big takeaway there, like making sure you're having the right systems and tools in place to be organized, so you get it out of your head and it's on the paper, it's on software. So and keeping organized each and every day is the key towards making sure you're progressing towards your successful goals in the future. Awesome stuff. Question number 4, in one sentence, what has been the biggest failure that you've learned in your career? And again, what was the takeaway from that failure?
Success is 100% mindset and 100% technical ability. So a great mindset and just ability to go take action and do things is required, but it's not the only thing that's required. You need to have some expertise, some technical knowledge, some savvy as well. And that really goes all the way to my first couple deals. I was really hyped up, had a really good mentality, mindset that I was just going and taking action and just being a doer. But I didn't know what I was doing. And so that got me into trouble on my first 2 flips that I did simultaneously. And so that was that was a good learning point. And really, a good answer to that is just, if you're starting something new, you've never done it before, of course you can learn how to do it by yourself. There's so much knowledge and resources out there, but really the best thing is to put yourself on a team of someone who's doing it successfully, and use their experience as a springboard and to learn and to be successful.
Love it. Yeah, I think that's super important. Making sure you're having the education piece and surrounding yourself with people who can guide you along the way, but also having the get up and go type attitude. So yeah. I think combining those two is really, really important. And so I guess the takeaway from there is that you needed to be more self-aware that you didn't know everything and you thought you did. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was that having self-limiting beliefs and not having a growth mindset, that will hold you back. So you 100% need to have that go-getter, I can do this mindset, but you also need to have the knowledge, the partner, the actual executional experience. So the takeaway is you need both. It's not mindset, it's not the know-how, it's both. You need them both.
You need to be dangerous enough to know what you're doing and not make those mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Mate, last question is, where can people reach you to continue the conversation? They want to be in your circle. They want to find out a little bit more about what you do. Where do they go?
Well, two businesses, Holdfolio.com and SyndicationPro.com. My contact info is live on each of those sites, cell phone number and email. So if you want to get in touch, check those out, get in touch with me. And if those of you out there who think that Syndication Pro might be a valuable tool for you, mention my name, get in touch with me. We'll hook you up as being a friend of Reed here with a 30 days free. Awesome,
mate. Well, look, I want to thank you for jumping on today's show. I think I just want to reflect some of the things that I took away from today's show, which were really important, and something that, for you, it seems like you've figured out a systematic way to approach the business, and you're not afraid to roll up the sleeves and take on control of property management or construction, or the big task of, developing an online software business in and around helping support the main business of buying real estate. I talk a lot about on this show about the power of ecosystems, and really ecosystems in business create the long-term wealth. Yes, real estate in itself, if you just buy real estate, you will create long-term wealth, but you can 10x it and get there a lot quicker when you have all the other different pieces of the business, like the property management, construction management, the technology piece, maybe sourcing product from China, what we do on our side. But that's really important. I think you embody that, Jacob, in a huge way. And then you're just not afraid to go out and learn about it, right? And you might not know exactly what to do with, building the software, but you had the idea, and then thus you approached the right people in order to partner with, so they could build it for you, and then you could go off and have this tool that will only make you more successful in the future. So from that point of view, well done. And secondly, did it leave anything out?
No, thanks a lot, Reed. What you've brought here, I think I'm going to have to re-listen to it because, I've enjoyed this conversation, and you've brought a lot of great nuggets to the table, along with kind of my experience. It's been great.
Awesome, man. Well, look, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch up very, very soon.
Thanks a lot, Reed.
Well, there you have it, another cracking episode jam-packed with some incredible advice from Jacob. If you are interested in any of his websites, please remember to go over to syndicationpro.com or holdfolio.com and check him out. He's got some incredible software systems that can help scale your business. I want to thank you all again for taking some time out of your day to tune in, to continue to grow your financial IQ, because that's what we're all about here on this show. And the easiest way to give back to this show, if you do like it, is jump on iTunes and give it a 5-star review. It's all about over there. Also, I want to let you know that right now you can get on Amazon is my new book under audible.com. It's called Investing in the US, The Ultimate Guide to US Real Estate. It is now live on Audible. So go over there and get your hands on a copy today. It's all the best episodes from this show jam-packed into a book, which was launched 2 years ago. It's an Amazon bestseller, and now it's on audible.com. I want to thank you again, as I said, for taking some time out of your day. We're going to do this all again next week. So remember, be bold, be brave, and go give life a crack. Thank you, mate.